Hello everyone, Don here again with the next update, specs, I guess you could call it, on the War Corsair project. Been seeing a lot of comments asking, people been asking about some of the specifications about the aircraft, cruise speeds and the like. A lot of people ask, what kind of engine this is, and so this week I decided to mix it up a little bit and just kind of go over basically the engine in the aircraft so you can understand what this is. And for all the new subscribers and followers that haven't had a chance to view my channel before, this again is a 1/2 scale replica of a War Corsair, it's called. It's War Aircraft Replicas is the company that makes the plans to build this airplane from. This is a plans build aircraft only. It is not a radio controlled model. This is again 1/2 scale. You get into this thing, you start it up and you fly it. You need a private pilot's license to fly this aircraft. So it is not, and I repeat, is not an RC model aircraft. It is not a lawn display. It is a real bona fide airplane that the FAA will have to give its final inspection, and then I can put an N number on it and then it will be legal to fly. So, so with that out of the way, anybody that's new to the channel and ask a lot of questions, all I can say is go back to my channel. There are at least 100 videos on my channel of this aircraft throughout its construction phase. So you will see a lot of your answers when you go back, go to the very first video I posted about 10 years ago when this was still just in the box-shaped fuselage wooden box structure with the spars. And then from there you can go through them and progress through the years and see what it's taken to get this far. Back when I started this channel, YouTube only had 15-minute limit on videos. So all the videos I did back then in the early days were 10-15 minutes. And then the other problem I had was my internet here was dial-up, DSL, and it was very slow. So a 10-minute video, because this is high-def camera, would take me, well, my other camera as well is high def, it would take like 3 hours to upload a video with my service. So it was good to keep them short. Now that I've got a better internet now, 100 megs, I'm able to do a lot longer videos. So there's been a lot of questions about, wanting to know what the cruising speed and such is. Again, I'll refer back to this GA airfoils. This is the book I used to choose a different airfoil, and by using the graphs in the back of this thing I was able to come up with some basic numbers here. I got about 71.5 square feet of wing area. It's about 1,200 pounds gross now, so the wing loading of 1398, I might have to recalculate that. It's probably a little heavier, but it's not much. The stall without flaps comes in at about 66 miles per hour. Stall with flaps, only 25 degrees, is 46 miles per hour. This aircraft is, I set the flaps to go to 30 max. Cruise speed is 120 to 165, and top speed is around 190 miles per hour. So those are the basics. Alright, now on for the engine. As you can see, I took the prop off because I needed to get into the bottom of the cowling. As it turns out, the battery that was behind the seat, I was hoping to have room right here. But as you can see, I don't. So the only really good spot I have to put the battery would be right here in the front, here somewhere. Since I do have these two holes, I'd be able to bolt hang down off of here, but I'm still up in the air on that. It'll feel all the engine vibrations, and I'm sure it'll work. I can make it strong enough to hold it. But the nice thing is having that 16 pounds up here will definitely help with the last ounce of CG movement I could use. Okay, so on with the engine. This is a 1990 Subaru EJ22, which is a 2.2 liter. It is bone stock as far as the internals of the engine have never been tampered with. I bought this out of a wreck. It only had 5,000 miles on it, so it was literally a brand new engine. Okay, so the things I had to do to get this to work in my airplane is these valve covers were reversed. This one was on the other side, the other one was on this side. It just helped out with the install. The original intake manifold was one big cast aluminum spider looking thing that sat way up here, you know. It was too big, too heavy. So what I did is I cut the runners off here, and I cut them off just above the fuel injectors here. Cut them off there, and then I bought these mandrel bent aluminum tubes, bored this out so they fit, bored the center out so they fit, and every one of these tubes is identical in length. So some of them extend into the center casting. This is the original center casting of the intake manifold. So, and I have a TIG welder, so I TIG weld this all together. These fuel lines here just had regular rubber hoses. This one is just a crossover to the other side. What I did is I bought some metal fittings that fit the AN fittings, and I cut them off and bored them and put them on here, and again TIG welded those on. So I modified these. And then, as you remember, the filler tube was a big monstrous thing that would stick clear out here, you know, on the fuselage, and you couldn't put the cowling on. So this is my final configuration so I can fill it. And I brought it over here with this configuration. So when I put a door in the cowling, I'll be able to check it and add it at the same time. Okay, I did manage to pull the cables out. I had to unbolt these here because this is the negative cable and the positive cable that run all the way back to the battery box. And then off of this also there was another line that goes into the bus bars inside the plane. And I know some people have been asking, you know, for shots of the cockpit. Well, there's plenty of shots of the cockpit. You just have to go back through the videos. That knob's gone, but anyway, when that lifts up, there's two bus bars, and they're negative, positive bus bar, negative bus bar, either way. So I had to pull all them lines out, pull the cables out through the back end here. So, and in doing so, here's what I got. These are the actual battery cables. They're real big, heavy duty, or meant to carry the current for starting at the very least. I threw those on the scale, and just that there weighs 3.3 pounds. Now some of these will get reused, you know, a couple feet depending on where I put the battery. I may go from the battery right to the starter. I may go from the battery back to those lugs. But basically, the starter needs a heavy lead to go to the battery, and then I can run a lighter lead from here into the motor because that's low current draw in the motor, and then the charging wire for the alternators here. So more of the conversion for this is I had to design my own mount here for the alternator, which is kind of tough to see, but it's a steel mount that goes in and picks up a couple bolts on the block. I had to make a bracket here to support the throttle linkage, and of course had to do all this plumbing to get the mass air meter in place. And also the next biggest thing is this is a 2.17 reduction gearbox. It's made by Ross Aero out of Arizona, but the company is no longer in business. I would still like to get a hold of Chris Ross, the guy who built this one for me. It's the father-son. Lou Ross, I think it was his father, and he used to make the Ross model aircraft engines, little RC two-cycle aircraft engines in the heyday, you know, back in the 60s and 70s and such. And then the son and him started building these reduction gearboxes for these Subarus, and then they made all kinds of them, but this one I used because it was the shortest. They make some with big bell housings like a regular car to get the prop way out here for like a pusher configuration. But this gearbox in the day when I bought it was a $2,500 thing. So it uses a set of planetary gears out of a Ford C6 automatic transmission. So because it's a planetary gear set, it causes the propeller to spin the opposite rotation, which people noticed on the last video of me running the thing up. So let me see what else. This thing looks like a big old cobweb here, but the PCV, positive crankcase ventilation system, is still in here. The PCV is actually this piece in here. But this is all plumbed up as if it was still in the car. That was one of the things Chris Ross said. He says, as long as you put this thing together and it still thinks it's in the car, it will work fine. And again, you can see my adjustable bracket for tightening the only belt on the motors for the alternator. This was a part of an air conditioning out of I think an old Mustang. What do they call it, can. It's on the firewall in the engine compartment. It has a little filter in there. But I took and cut it open, de-gutted it, bought this cap assembly, welded it on, welded back together, and welded in these 3 fittings. And this fitting here is just there's a pair of O-rings that slip onto a special fitting I made that goes through the firewall, and then those hoses come down, and yes, the radiators are right there. Some people don't realize that this is a liquid-cooled engine. It does not need any airflow across it to cool it. All the cooling is done right there. One radiator there, and the other radiator there. It does not require any airflow through this airplane. It does not have to come out here or nothing. But the only thing I did do is, I mentioned before, you can see the hole down there, right there, at the bottom of the cowling. That is just to help with exhaust heat from that muffler. So, I'd mentioned before that I may get different wrapping for this, but I may end up just buying some more of this ceramic blanket and wrap that muffler with this blanket. Because this is ceramic, and that thing will handle 2,000 degrees, and that muffler will never put out that much heat. Let's see if there's anything else. Everything else on this is completely stock. The wiring, of course, is all aircraft grade wire. I was able to find all the pins for every connector on this engine, and I was able to buy all new pins and then rebuild a whole new harness with brand new pins, so they all plug in just like factory. They're the double crimp, there's no soldering, and everything terminates right here from the motor. So I cut this wire, unscrew that. The electrical system, along with these 2 points, is completely disconnected, and you can pull the whole motor after disconnecting the 4 waters. You got a water outlet and a water inlet on the bottom. So, and then the other major thing was, where the water comes out of the block, there was a casting that ran all the way across to the other side. That was the only way water from one side of the motor could get to the other, was this big aluminum casting. Well, I cut that casting took it out, and I made up flanges and 90-degree elbows, welded them all up. So the coolant on this head comes to this wing, the coolant on that head goes to that wing over there. So that freed up a lot of that stuff. And then the gearbox requires an oil feed, so you had to come in here and tap into an oil, the original oil pressure sending unit's mounted back here somewhere. I think it's over here. Yeah, it's been a while, folks. But there was the original oil sending unit for the instrument cluster in the car, went into the block here, so you had to tap that out with a pipe tap, put a fitting in there, and then I've added, as you can see, I've got a pressure sensor for the new gauge. I've got a temp sensor for the gauge, and then the oil feed comes out of here, comes into the top of the gearbox, and there's a really small orifice in this fitting here. I think it's around 60 thousandths or smaller. That just sprays a little oil in there, keeps these 2 big bearings up here lubricated, and then there's a bearing in the back as well, and then the gears itself, and then it drains back into the oil tank, which is just tapped into the hot side of the oil pan, which should be above the oil line, so it flows back nicely. But for the most part, everything on this is factory original, other than those few modifications, and I took all the plastic guarding out in here because you don't need it. So, but that's pretty much the gist of this. This again is a 1990 2.2 liter Subaru engine. In the car, it's rated at, I want to say, around 134 to 136 horsepower. Again, those numbers are usually rated with the alternator, the power steering, the air conditioning, everything on and functioning. So it's safe to say this will do at least 140 horse. These airplanes were designed for a Continental 0200 engine that was rated at 100 horsepower. You would normally find that engine in a Cessna 150, which I have in my house garage. And that's my next project after this plane is finished and at the airport. I'll start bringing in parts of that Cessna and working on that here, but I'll also be working on the Mustang project too. So this winter I hope this will be at the hangar, and it'll stay out there all winter unless something happens. I need to bring it home to work on something for the spring. But what I got to do tonight, I had to pull this prop off anyway to work with the battery. But I need to buy new bolts. The bolts turned out to be about 1/4 inch too long, so I'm going to order 6 new bolts tonight. I'm going to order a power cord to plug in the radio into the aircraft electrical system, and I need to order, I got the gear done. There was a couple bolts there. I just ended up drilling them and pinning them myself. And I need to order logbooks. I got to get a logbook for the airplane and a logbook for the engine. So get those couple things coming, get them in this weekend. I was hoping to have this done, but I did get this done. This was a nightmare because that cable goes all through the outside, and it was kind of tie wrapped in spots, and it has to go through some foam little bulkheads in there. So some of that got ripped as I pulled it out of there. So I was hoping to get the battery tray made, but it's not, again, it's not going to fit where I wanted it to. The only option I really have is kind of right in here, and this will hang off them. The motor is on rubber mounts here. There's 4 of them, 2 front, 2 in the rear. The engine didn't really move, but you know, if I bolt it to this is thick. This thing's, oh god, 3/4, almost 5/8, 3/4 inch thick. So there's plenty of material to support a battery box. But again, it's this vibration. There's really nowhere else I can put the damn thing. But it will definitely help if it's out here. It'll put me on the front edge of the CG. And right now, if the airplane was empty of fuel with me in it, nothing in the little luggage compartment, I am just a tad behind, like 100 thousandths behind the aft CG limit. So I plan on, you know, shedding a few pounds over the next few months to help offset that. But if I put the battery clear up here instead of here, I mean, that's another 2 feet of movement on the arm there that will help with the forward condition. Again, this is the battery. Nothing but basically a motorcycle battery. It's been nice. I've had it a couple years now, and it holds a charge real well over the winter, and it's got plenty of power for starting. My thing weighs 16 pounds. So, trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, the propeller is a warp drive, 72 inches, 6 foot. It is just about scale as far as the diameter is concerned, but the blades aren't wide enough to give it the scale look. It's a ground adjustable. You loosen up to 6 little bolts plus the main flange bolts bolted to your propeller flange, and you can pitch those blades to wherever you need. Right now they're only pitched, like I said, around 5 degrees. And then that run up I did last week, I didn't mention it, but that was only 3,500 RPM. And this motor will be probably set on it to probably be just under 5,800 is peak horsepower. So straight and level, full throttle, 5,800 is what you would want to see on the prop. So on the ground you generally pitch the blade so it wouldn't be about 500 RPM less than that, because in the air it'll run a little faster as the plane's moving. But one of the nice things I did notice about it, when I was running it, I was getting smoke in the cockpit from the paint, the coloring burning off of these things, and it was going in through here. The propeller was pushing it. This one, the inlet for this is the heater side. This is the engine's radiator. So behind the radiator there's a hole, big, like 3-inch hole behind the radiator. So as the air goes through there, it can go into the cabin. You'll have hot air, warm air for winter, cold flying. And on this side, you can see the big hole in there. That's for cool air. Well, the propeller was blowing in the smoke coming out of here up into there. And just the prop blast, when I was in there fiddling with those valves to close them off to keep the smoke out of the cockpit, I didn't realize at the time until after I finished it. Let's see if you can see them in there. There's little eye sockets. I don't know if you can see it, but it's right there. Little black plastic. They kind of little eyeball sockets that'll swivel all around. But that side is the cold side, and this side over here is the hot side. This one you might be able to see a little better. And a little shiny piece in there. Where are we at? Find my finger. Right about there. It might look better on the camera once I get it in house. But there was a ton of air blowing in there just with the propeller blast. As I'm closing, I finally realized that, wow, that's a lot of airflow, and I'm not even moving. So the prop blast, because I do have that big prop on there, it hangs clear out over here, it's definitely putting cooling in there. Like I say, I've ran it long enough to get it up to temperature, but I didn't run it long enough to see if it was going to keep climbing. But it seemed to stabilize right at or above 180, what the thermostat set to. So I hope that kind of helps answer some of the questions. Again, for anybody that's new and has a ton of questions, go check out my other videos. I didn't just start posting these videos here in the last month. I've been posting videos on this build for 10 years now. And you'll be able to see a lot of stuff if you go back through the videos, and you'll get a lot of, I mean, most of them are wrote up as, updates, but they're all dated. They're all in chronological order as far as the dating is concerned. But you can kind of get a gist of what it looks like underneath this, and then you'll know that it's foam over fiberglass construction. So, and again, these last couple videos have really gone crazy on the view count. I've surpassed 1 million views now on all my videos. I just got a notice that said 3 days ago I had surpassed 1 million views of, I've got like 144 videos, and they're not all on the Corsair. Some of them are on this, some of them are on my CNC machine, some are on my aqua blasting cabinets back over there, and Stan Meyer's water-powered car stuff, the Doom Buggy. I've got a lot of content on there. But as far as the airplanes, if you go watch those, you're going to see how this thing was constructed. And then you'll come to understand that it is not an RC model for the umpteenth time. Okay, folks, I'm going to go ahead and cut her there. And again, as always, appreciate everyone taking their time to watch these videos. And thanks to all the new people watching and the new subscriptions. My subscription rate is now over 14,000 subs, and I started with 2,500 before YouTube decided to share one of my videos with you folks. But again, appreciate everybody taking their time to watch these things, and please feel free to leave comments. And it's getting to the point where I can't answer all the comments, but I do try to go through and read them all. I'll spend an hour or two at night going through all the comments, and if I read your comment, I give it a thumbs up, I give it a like. I give a like to everyone. So if your thing hasn't been a thumbs up or liked by me, I don't know if you can tell or not, but I like them. But some of them they warrant a little simple quick answer. So I mean, look at the comments and see what people are saying, and if people know about these aircraft and see a comment when they're making a comment, go ahead and answer them for me if you like. If it's not right and I see it, I might say something a little different. But I've had enough followers to know what's going on that they can kind of help out answering some of these redundant questions over and over and over. So again, go back and watch them if you just started watching these, and you'll see and you'll answer a lot of the questions just by looking at some of the videos. Alright folks, I'm going to go ahead and cut this off short here, and hopefully next week I'll get this battery situated, get this cowling back together. I'll have the new bolts and everything for the prop. That'll all be back on. Get everything buttoned up again, and then I'll go from there. But the weight and balance again did come out great. I'm not going to touch anything. All I'm going to do is move that battery, and it's flyable. So, all right, folks, for the last time, this is going to do it for this week, and hopefully next weekend I'll be able to give you another video if all goes well. This weekend was pretty nasty. It's been kind of raining on and off. Thunderstorms just passed through a little while ago, so couldn't get outside and do much with this. But this was a big deal getting that out. All right. I'll catch you guys next weekend. So for this week, this is Down and Dawn out. And as always, thanks again for everybody watching these and making this channel pop. All right, see you guys.